Good evening. I'm Kelda Yoon. Residents of a Mississauga neighborhood are rattled after a disturbing case of arson this morning. Police say a teen boy has been arrested after a house was set on fire and a dog found injured. Tyreek Reed has the latest.
I'm in complete shock.
Neighbors in Mississauga are speechless after parts of this house went up in flames on Thursday, and police say it was no accident.
What we know to be true now is that the fire was intentionally set. We have taken a male youth into custody who is associated to the address here and believed to be responsible.
Officers say they were called to the 400 block of Atwater Avenue around 11:30 in the afternoon. Police say nobody but the teen and the dog appeared to be home at the time. The dog was found with injuries. They believe the youth was responsible for that as well.
So the information provided to us at the beginning was that it was stabbed. We haven't been able to confirm that as of yet, but that is part of the ongoing investigation. And of course, additional charges as it relates to the maltreatment of an animal may result.
It was shocking. Really, really shocking, because everyone here is so friendly, so kind, so gentle, and it's really heartbreaking. All I could think of was poor family.
My general reaction is sadness. It is heartbreaking. It's a beautiful neighborhood, and it seems like this violence, this unfortunate situations happening in too many places in the city.
Police say the dog was taken to an animal hospital to be treated, but there's no word on exact charges yet.
It's likely arson related as it relates to the fire in the residence that's caused some substantial damage inside, and there may or may not be additional charges pending as it relates to the injuries to the animal.
How many people live inside the home remains unknown. Police did not confirm if the youth himself lived inside. Tyreek Reed, CBC News, Mississauga.
Victim impact statements were read today at the sentencing hearing of Arthur Kutula, the man convicted in a 2021 crash that killed an elderly couple. One of the statements came from Ashley Avila, the daughter of the couple that died in the crash. Now, her statement reads, in part, Arthur has robbed me of peace and happiness. My family's days are filled with an emptiness that can't be replaced. She went on to say, I am not in peace with the way my parents died. It haunts me every day. Kutula, who is from Burlington, was convicted of 2 counts of criminal negligence causing death. He was going double the speed limit on Parkside Drive when his BMW slammed into the back of a Toyota, killing the couple in the vehicle. His sentencing hearing is expected to continue in February. Well, more jewelry store owners are speaking out amidst the rise in robberies across the GTA. In Peel region, incidents in 2024 jumped threefold. Adele Manukduk takes a look at why the spike is happening and what store owners want done about it.
Around 7:30 Tuesday night, thieves attempted to breach Jeanette Jewelers in Mississauga, taking an angle around the metal security posts and ramming a vehicle into the storefront.
My back was leaning towards that wall. The lady, the customer, just finished work and she was leaving. She just came here, was going to grab the door, and the car hit us so badly that everything moved forward.
The vehicle backed up to hit the store 2 more times as thieves raced to enter, but just as quickly fled once smoke filled the store, a security measure in the event of a robbery. The store had its grand opening just 5 weeks prior.
I don't know how we are going to survive in this country without the business. Like this way, all the jewelry stores will close one day, very soon. I was able to protect yesterday because I was mentally prepared that this will come to me one day.
The sound of hammers smashing glass display cases has become all too familiar in the GTA. In Peel, there were 41 incidents last year, up from just 10 in 2023. A few units down from Jeanette Jewelers, Misk Jewelry has beefed up security measures.
Hello, who are you?
No sunglasses, masks, hats, or hoodies allowed, and for us, ID prior to entry. In late November, thieves ransacked the store, making off with $200,000 worth of diamonds in just 25 seconds. The store owner's son was inside and says after, police weren't much help.
And I was shaking, I was just broken down. And then he was just, don't worry, man. They were laughing and they were like, don't worry, man. You know, it's the insurance will cover everything. I was like, man, what insurance? We don't even have insurance. You know, insurance companies don't even offer that no more to new jewelry stores because it's happening so often, the robberies.
Hamza Kamil says the number of incidents has risen because criminals aren't punished enough.
You see there is no consequences to your actions, and you can just break in, make money, and it's just so easy. Of course, you're gonna come back again and do it.
You'd be a fool not to think that people are seeing the increased trend and getting ideas, right?
Officer Tyler Bell says they're concerned about the rise in jewelry store robberies and that many arrests are made after the fact, sometimes months later.
Many of the people that we arrest are folks that are already on release for prior offenses, so they're not seeing the deterrent that we're hoping from the judicial system, and so they're going out and they're putting themselves in those positions again.
While police wait for bail reform and new technologies to monitor those on release roll out, store owners want protection, something they don't feel that police offer.
We need some serious action for self-defense. We need guns license.
I will die, but I won't let them go. So it was like that, and next time also it will be like this. Do or die, or kill or die.
You do have a right to protect your property. Of course you do. Can you protect it with deadly force? Absolutely not.
Peel police have several theories on what's happening to the goods, that they're being sold locally or elsewhere, or that jewelry is being remanufactured, meaning melted down and then resold by bad players within the industry. Dale Manuktuk, CBC News, Mississauga.
With just 4 days to go until Donald Trump retakes the White House, Premier Doug Ford is continuing his campaign against the looming tariff threat. Today, addressing business leaders. Lane Harrison takes a look.
Premier Doug Ford received a raucous greeting from business leaders in Mississauga, but beneath the excitement of his visit to the local Board of Trade lay unease about the tariff threat Ford has been fighting for weeks.
Between Canada and the U.S.
No doubt about it, businesses are very concerned. The other thing that concerns me is we don't want businesses to up and leave Ontario or leave Canada because they're worried about these risks.
Fresh off a meeting with the Prime Minister and fellow premiers in Ottawa, Ford expressed optimism, continuing to pitch his vision of stronger economic ties between Ontario and the U.S., and sharing a message for business owners.
When I was in Ottawa, I couldn't help myself. I ran into Costco, sat down with the folks there, and said, start onboarding. Start sourcing Canadian-made and Ontario-made products, and if you can't source them, we will source them for you. When they attack the job.
And while the Premier continues to do what he can to try to fend off any tariffs, some businesses in Mississauga are preparing for them to hit, like aerospace manufacturer MHI.
It will affect our contracts with the suppliers, with our customer. It's not easy to go back and amend the contracts and see who takes the burden of the tariffs, so that's a lot of work. It's a dilemma because, no one wants to take the burden and the extra cost. And even when you look at the contracts and the cost, you'll say, okay, well, we can accept some escalations, but we did not really think about the tariff as a condition to be included in our contracts.
She says if her company has to absorb the tariff burden, it will be a significant hit.
We won't be generating any profit and probably even barely do the break-even point.
It's a real simple.
During his speech, the Premier again said trade tariffs could lead to hundreds of thousands of job losses in Ontario and require billions in stimulus. But as he has throughout the tariff saga, he kept his message positive.
We are going to feel a few bumps on the road, but I can tell you one thing. With the Team Canada approach, we're unstoppable. We're an economic powerhouse.
Lane Harrison, CBC News, Toronto.
To the Middle East now, the Israeli cabinet has yet to vote on the ceasefire deal with Hamas. If approved, the first phase of that agreement would begin on Sunday. And for Canadians with ties to the region, that day can't come soon enough. Greg Ross spoke with some here in Toronto with family members who have been greatly impacted by the war in Gaza.
A storm of emotions all at once.
The past few days have not been easy for Maureen Lesher. She has a 24-year-old cousin who has been held hostage by Hamas for the past 15 months. Romy Gonin was at the Nova Music Festival when she was taken by Hamas soldiers.
She was shot in the arm. There's audio recording of it. And I was told by my family the beginning of December that she's alive, but not in good condition because she hasn't received, proper medical care, hygiene care.
Lesham says she is still cautiously optimistic that a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas will be approved, despite recent reports of new tensions between the two sides. She says her family just wants Romy to come home.
We are hopeful, we're terrified, We're anxious, we're impatient, glued to our phones. I'm wavering between this fragile optimism, but also this unsettling sense of dread at the same time. And it's like this emotional whiplash.
It has also been a range of emotions for Mohammed Yassin.
We're watching the news praying that it goes through and that the ceasefire actually is implemented.
Yassin has lost family members in Gaza. He says many other family members have lost their homes and are struggling to survive with little food or water.
It's been taxing and draining and just devastating to wake up every single day not knowing if our family's going to be alive or not. No matter what we have gone through, it's not even 1% of 1% of what they go through in an hour over there in Gaza.
While Yassin and Leshem are on opposite sides of this dispute, they both agree that an end to the hostilities is the best way forward. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Renowned director David Lynch has died at the age of 78. Lynch co-created the groundbreaking TV series Twin Peaks and directed such visionary films as Mulholland Drive, The Elephant Man, Blue Velvet, and Eraserhead. His work often reflected modern American life mixed with elements of surrealist horror. In August, the director announced he had emphysema, a chronic disease that causes shortness of breath. It's a case that involves a missing painting, private investigators, and a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. Michael Murray claims a Tom Thompson painting he owned was sent to a Toronto auction house to manage a sale. But when he followed up, he was told they didn't have it. He's now launched an $11 million lawsuit alleging negligence and conspiracy. The auction house is denying the allegations, claiming the painting was never there. Farah Morali has more on the case of the missing artwork.
The last known photographs of a small painting now stirring up big controversy.
It's a beautiful painting.
Michael Murray, a Canadian doctor working in Hawaii, says the 8x12 piece was owned by his uncle, a former employee of this Ottawa florist. The original owners, the Scrim family, were connected to renowned Canadian painter Tom Thompson. When former owner Florist Scrim passed, she left her estate to Murray's uncle, including the painting.
As a graduation gift, he gave me the painting.
Murray decided to put the unsigned painting up for sale sometime around 2013 and first sent it to the National Gallery of Canada to be authenticated by the Canadian Conservation Institute. In its report, it noted a pigment called Freeman's White, only found in works by Tom Thompson and the Group of Seven, was identified in the painting. Court documents show it then went to Toronto to be refurbished before arriving at this gallery in 2015. The gallery owner connected Murray to Waddington's auctioneers and appraisers, where Murray claims a senior staff member agreed to manage the sale. Years passed with no updates, and in 2021, after Murray inquired, he was told the painting wasn't there.
I was thinking, where's my painting?
A lawyer for Waddington's told us they can't comment because the matter is before the courts, but in its statement of defense, it denies the painting was ever there.
And that's not all. It denies the painting even is by Tom Thompson.
We have very little concern about, establishing the validity of this as a real Tom Thompson.
Murray's lawyer disagrees, saying an appraisal done in 2022 using photos and previous documentation pegged its value at $1.5 million. He's filed an $11 million lawsuit against Waddington's, alleging neglect and conspiracy among staff. This private investigator was hired to try to find the painting, but says many weren't keen to talk.
It got to a point where we talked about possession of the painting, where everybody kind of threw their hands up and said, no, it's not me, it's not me, it's not me.
Though the allegations the painting were stolen are unproven, this art theft expert says the passing of more time doesn't help in those cases where privacy remains key for collectors.
Through every year, through every month, through every passing of time, it becomes that much more difficult to find an object. Because of the elusive nature of the art market, because of the opaque nature of it.
I mean, being honest about it. Yeah. I feel betrayed.
As Murray awaits a possible civil trial, he's still no closer to knowing the whereabouts of the painting, a piece of art that seemingly vanished. Farah Morali, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. Former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney has officially entered the Liberal leadership race. He announced it in Edmonton, the city where he grew up. And invoking his childhood hockey playing days, he made this bold promise.
And I'm coming into this match, coming into this game, knowing that we are well behind.
But we're getting warmed up. We're going to head out in that third period, and we're going to win.
Carney also took direct aim at Pierre Poilievre, saying the Conservative leader was offering a platform of three-word slogans. Carney didn't spare the current government either, saying it allowed its focus to wander from the economy too often. With rumors of an early Ontario election swirling at Queen's Park, all of the major parties are racing to nominate a full slate of candidates. And that work has kicked into full gear across the province's 124 ridings. Sean Jeffords spoke with experts to get their analysis.
We're going to need a big bus.
Ontario Liberal leader Bonnie Crombie surrounded by candidates for her party, kicking off a cross-provincial tour. All is rumors of the potential snap election swirl in the face of Donald Trump's tariff threats.
While you are feeling anxious and worried, Doug Ford is about to say, well, screw it. This is my opportunity. Yeah, this is Doug's opportunity to call an election to make sure that his job is safe, while your job is on the line.
Talk of that snap vote in Ontario has only intensified in recent weeks. Doug Ford has said he'll need to seek a new mandate if Trump imposes the 25% tax on all Canadian goods coming into the U.S. Again, today, Ford doubled down on his previous statements at an event in Mississauga.
To be very frank, I do not have the mandate to spend tens of billions of dollars right now.
Will you be looking for that mandate in the
Stay
near
tuned.
future?
We'll see what happens on January 20th or 21st.
While there is a lot of political rhetoric in the air, what's clear is all of Ontario's parties are rushing to nominate candidates. Ontario's Progressive Conservative Party has nominated 74 people to date. The Ontario Liberal Party has 50 people in place and are vetting 30 more. The Green Party has 45 candidates ready, and the New Democrats say they have 31 people in place now. NDP strategist Melanie Richer says the opposition parties have to take Ford's musings seriously.
I definitely think that there's maybe a foot on the gas a little bit to get there. Bells are ringing that we may be going faster than not.
It takes time to search for candidates, run races where required, and hold votes or meetings, even if it's just to acclaim a single candidate. And this former Ontario Liberal cabinet minister says that rush could mean candidate vetting and background checks suffer.
I think we're also going to see situations in all three parties where we're going to have candidates where we're going to find out they have skeletons in their closet. And it's a distraction for the campaign.
This Conservative strategist says policy is also being rewritten quickly because of Trump.
The entire campaign, or a huge part of it, might be about how to respond to Trump, how to respond to his tariffs, how to protect or rebuild our economy.
And while Ford's public statements about an early election call leave some room for ambiguity, Malloy says sometimes in election planning, momentum builds, and it's hard to hold off going to the polls.
Sure, but when there were a few storm clouds on the horizon, I remember being at planning meetings where we would say, look, it's simply too late to turn it around.
Sean Jeffords, CBC News, Toronto.
Toronto police are set to get an extra $46 million this year if its budget is approved, bringing the total amount of police spending to $1.2 billion. The city's police chief says the increase is needed to meet the demands of the public.
It's an ongoing conversation about how the city does its planning for major and special events, how they do their permitting, coordinate that, and ensure that our operational response can be as much integrated into some of the other planning that happens in other rooms so that we can make sure we're giving the best service to our residents and not having concerns around the impact on cultural events because of the cost of events.
Police say last year's budget increase led to a reduction in 911 call backlogs. They also diverted 25% of calls better suited to 311. Council will vote on the 2025 budget next month. Colette is here with a look at the forecast. And Colette, yeah, pretty messy out there. In the city, not so bad, but north of the GTA, definitely some places.
Yeah, there were those
quite a dumping.
Yeah, those pockets where you get that enhancement from the lake, so you get a little bit more in terms of the accumulation. But yeah, it was kind of almost an all-day event for us, right? Yeah, kind of funny that it doesn't add up to much, but really a few centimeters mostly, although it was widespread. However, with those pockets where you get some of that enhancement off the lake, some of those winter weather travel advisory regions things like the Niagara area, up the Bruce Peninsula, towards Collingwood, over towards Barrie and through that area. But essentially this system moves on, that's it, into eastern Ontario. We get into some milder air as the next system approaches, and this next one is going to be much stronger. Winds are going to be strong, and behind it some colder air. So it's really going to be one to contend with, and I want you to plan accordingly. But the timing with that is getting more towards Saturday and then Sunday when the cold air arrives. In between, as in tomorrow, a pretty nice day is actually shaping up. Through a portion of the GTA, likely we'll get some sunshine coming through, so kind of a mix of sun and cloud before it becomes overcast. You might get some sunny breaks too into parts of southwestern Ontario, to the north and to the east. So there'll be pockets, but milder temperatures as well. So Friday is kind of a gift with temperatures above seasonal before this next front arrives. Ahead of it, we get into a bit of a messy mix for Saturday. So any of that snow ahead of that is likely going to be very, very wet snow, and closer to the lower Great Lakes, mixing with some rain. So at times, just very slushy out there through the day on Saturday. Behind that cold front, that core of that much colder air, that's when it's going to be moving in. So you'll feel that cool down and the windy conditions as we go into Saturday and Sunday, but it's those wind chills that will become very significant too. So just overnight tonight, if anything, our temperature nearly steady to rising as we go towards tomorrow morning, because we're coming up to that high of 1 degree with that southwesterly flow. But let me take you through that 5-day forecast, because this is what's really important here. It's still mild Saturday until that cold front gets here, okay? That's why it's a mix and some of it rainfall. But those temperatures, especially Monday night and Tuesday night, but even during the day, when you factor the winds in there as well, it's dangerous cold where wind chills will be in that -25 range.
Yeah, I got to take care out there and enjoy tomorrow, right? Before
Yes.
this next system comes in.
Yes, because we just haven't had cold air like this yet this winter.
Thanks so much, Colette. That's all the time we have. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.